welcome to the Second Tier Podcast. I'm Ryan Dilks, and I'm joined by the Gianfranco Zola to my Gary Rowett. It's Justin Peach.
Good day to you, Ryan.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Second Tier Podcast, the number one championship podcast, and you're getting reaction from us at the Second Tier because Birmingham City, the crazy bastards, they've only gone and done it. They sacked John Eustace, despite being sixth in the Championship. In a statement put out by the club on Monday morning, they said it is essential that the board of directors and the football management are fully aligned on the importance of implementing a winning mentality and a culture of ambition across the entire football club. With this in mind, Birmingham City has today parted company with head coach John Eustace. Eustace departs after 15 months in charge, having helped to stabilise and strengthen the club on the pitch following his appointment in July 2022. In his first season at the helm, he guided the team to a 17th place finish, securing Sky Bet Championship status with 3 games remaining. During his time at St Andrews, he galvanised the club to deliver a number of memorable moments in testing circumstances. The club would like to thank John for his contribution. His dedication and work ethic was evident throughout his time in B9, and he'll always be welcomed back to St Andrews. A new first-team manager will be announced in the coming days, who will be responsible for creating an identity and clear, quote, no fear playing style that all Birmingham City teams will adopt and embrace. The club will be issuing no further comments at this time. Justin, we mentioned in Sunday's episode how there appeared to be some truth behind these reports, but that didn't make it any less surprising when it was made official for me. And the crazy thing is, if you told me on Saturday night that there'd be a championship manager losing his job on Monday morning, I'm not sure John Eustace would have been in my top 10 managers I would have chosen.
Can you imagine if Twitter notifications came up on either Alex Neil or Gareth Ainsworth's phone saying championship manager sacked? They'd have gulped. They'd have gulped hard. So yeah, you can argue that they are quite fortunate, but you are right. It is no less. Well, it's still incredibly surprising that the fact that he's lost his job under, I wouldn't say strange circumstances, but surprising circumstances. Given the fact that
you can say strange, Justin. I think that's very valid in a circumstance.
I guess it depends where you sit in terms of the club's reasoning on its ambition. You can't really fault that, but it's still surprising. Is essentially what I'm getting at, because of how well he's done at the club in the last 18 months, or not really quite 18 months, but 14, 15 months. He's been an incredible servant to Birmingham City in really, really difficult circumstances. I don't think anyone quite realises how difficult it was last season for John Eustace.
It's just a mad decision, isn't it? At the end of the day, Birmingham have had an excellent start, as we know. 6th in the table has been well publicised in the past 24 hours. And the thing is as well, the really strange thing is, I think they should actually be higher in the table. I think really, I was quite surprised to see them 6th, because I think results haven't gone their way, despite them playing a lot better than the results suggest. But it's the context around it too, for me. Birmingham have been woeful for many years and have finally started going in the right direction. The new owners had done a terrific job in turning things around so quickly. They've been ticking every box when it comes to PR, little things like new screens outside the ground and a fancy new tunnel. These things go a long way with fans, and they make them think the club is in good hands and that it's a new era. There's been a feel-good factor at Birmingham for the first time in a long time. And there wasn't too much wrong with the club. Now they've done this. And the saying is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that phrase was made, or tailor-made for this situation, and the owners have all of a sudden needlessly created a problem for themselves. John Eustace was, by all accounts, very popular amongst the players, did a great job in stabilising the club, and comes across as a genuinely good bloke who was working very hard for Birmingham City, and they've binned him off, reportedly because he's not famous enough. I mean, I admire the ambition of the owners, but this is just bonkers.
Yeah, maybe more of a cynic's take, but I do get where you're coming from.
That's more of a cynic's take, Justin.
Yeah, again, it comes down to where you sit in terms of their reasoning. I don't think it's down to him being famous. It's down to profile. I don't think it's down to fame, is it? It's down to what the owners
not the same thing, pretty much.
I don't know. I think they sit differently in terms of sport, but that's another debate. But what I guess what I'm trying to say is the owners are wanting to go in a different direction. You can't really fault that, but it's where the ambition lies in terms of their appointment, whether that be Wayne Rooney or somebody else or John Eustace. But you are right; it's the circumstances in which he's going because of what he's done at the club so far this season. It's not particularly fair. But again, if the owners want to change, what's the point in sticking around?
Okay, but it's going extremely well, Justin. Birmingham City are 6th, and that's not happened in a long, long time. I think I saw a tweet the other day saying that the last time Birmingham City were in the top 6 after 10 games was something like 10 years ago, and it listed a load of things that were there at the time, like Barack Obama was still president and what have you. It's just been a long time since Birmingham have started the season this well, and I'm a bit confused, I've got to say, that you're seemingly not amazed at this decision.
No, I am amazed. I'm just trying to get into the psyche of the owner's decision.
I think everyone is.
Yeah, and it's a difficult thing to do, and the only way you can justify it is go, well, if the owners are wanting to go in a different direction, there's no point in sticking around with John Eustace. You may as well just go in that different direction. Otherwise, it's just going to be an awkward speculation-filled few months, which is ultimately going to distract the team, the manager, and everything in between. I mean, you only got to take the range of speculation with John Eustace as an example. He quashed it very quickly. And which is what makes this a bit more of a disappointing, on the disappointing end of the spectrum of his sacking, because he's shown his commitment to the football club, whereas the football club haven't really shown theirs. But like I said, if they don't want to go in that direction, there's no point sticking around. Things are inevitable. If Wayne Rooney or anybody else is inevitable, you're prolonging the speculation, which again can prove to be a big distraction.
Do you not think if it ain't broke, don't fix it?
No, I do. I don't think Eustace should have been sacked, but at the same time, if the owners wanted to make a change, then they went in the rights to make a change. I don't agree with it, but I also you've got to take it from their perspective. If they want to go with Wayne Rooney and want to take that risk, then they're well in their right to do it.
We've got some reaction from Birmingham fans on our Twitter. Will says, Birmingham City, new ambitious owners, but still a soap opera of a club. Jack says, our CEO being a big Blues fan, or so he says. And then going against the fans and making this decision, pathetic. John says, crazy, crazy decision. We don't want him gone. Ben says, very harsh. Keep right on, John. Well, various reports suggest it's Wayne Rooney who will be taking over. Old Wazza left DC United in the MLS over the weekend. Justin, is he a manager who will implement a winning mentality and have a no-fear playing style?
Given his win percentages so far, I don't think they've peaked over 20 or let's say 30% as a round number in each of his 2 previous jobs. I don't think a winning mentality is quite there. I've experienced Wayne Rooney ball at Derby County for 18 months he was in charge for, and yes, there was a lot of good moments, but there was a lot of frustrating moments as well. So that attacking mentality, winning mentality, and no fear football, yet to see evidence of it.
Yeah, I don't think Rooney's a bad appointment. He did a great job at Derby in extremely difficult circumstances, but the pressure is massively on him to start well now. And I'm not sure when he was at Derby there was a winning mentality and a no-fear playing style, I've got to say. Derby was so defensive in his only full season in charge. Obviously, circumstances may have played a part in that, but the point still remains. I think it's unfair for people to pigeonhole him as a very famous former footballer who's gone into management because he's bored, which I think a lot of people have done, because I don't think that's the case. It is very interesting, however, that Birmingham's CEO, Gary Cook, is mates with Rooney's agent, Paul Stretford. They were spotted at Derby games together in the past, along with the American businessman Chris Kirchner when he tried to take over Derby. I don't think it's any coincidence that Rooney resigned as Derby manager when Chris Kirchner pulled out of buying the club. So it seems like there's some sort of link here between all these individuals, but ultimately Rooney's got a lot of pressure on him to do well straight away. Otherwise, he's going to make the club's owners look very silly and leave fans unhappy with him and those owners already, isn't he?
Well, this is the risk you take with sacking someone who's doing well and replacing him with someone whose reputation is as a manager isn't quite where it needs to be to replace a manager who's done a good job so far at Birmingham City. And then you reference the relationships between the CEO Gary Cook and Wayne Rooney's agent Paul Stretford and the Chris Kirchner situation at Derby, and it feels like it's not particularly a footballing reason. It feels like a job for a mate sort of thing, which I don't think is particularly fair on John Eustace for starters, because from a footballing perspective, he's worked wonders at a club that's been shackled during 90% of his reign as manager. And like I said, I don't. From that perspective, it doesn't really make too much sense. And then you're looking at Gary Cook and they're cozying up to Chris Kirchner, who's now on trial in the US for misgivings as a businessman. You've got to question his judgment in that perspective. He was backing the takeover at Derby, which, if that had gone through, Derby would have gone bust very, very quickly. Is he the right man to make a decision on this situation, given his past judgment? You've got to question it.
Yeah. You obviously are a Derby fan, Justin, so you are very used to Rooney ball. And I think a lot of Derby fans will be pointing out that Birmingham City won't be getting Liam Rosenior as part of this package. And you were ringing the bell not too long ago about how Liam Rosenior wasn't necessarily the brains of the collective, but he may have had quite a big say in what was going on tactically. So is that a big concern for you?
It is. There are reports that Wayne Rooney is going to be joined by John O'Shea and Ashley Cole, which they're two highly rated coaches, which should help. But it doesn't feel like they've got the same coaching pedigree, which is weird to say because they're both at their various points in their career, world-class players. I don't think they carry the same coaching pedigree as Liam Rosenior did. Liam Rosenior is incredibly
was a world-class player at any point, but I see what you mean.
World-class utility man, shall we? That's the best way to describe him. But yeah, you get the point. He did score that lob against Arsenal, didn't he? So that's world-class quality there. Anyway, getting distracted. Rosenior, for me, is I think one of the most up-and-coming, highly rated coaches in the AFL at the moment, and he's potentially got the potential to go to the very top, and to have someone like that at your football club, you're very, very lucky. And I think Wayne Rooney was very, very lucky to have Liam Rosenior. I think Liam Rosenior was very unlucky not to get the Derby job. Or it probably just wasn't the right time for him, especially with the situation going on at Derby at that point. But the style of play, you can see it at Hull City now, and the success he's having at Hull, he embedded those principles at Derby. It was very obvious to see, and I don't think Wayne Rooney could have done it without him, and I don't think Wayne Rooney can do it without really handy number twos, which hopefully Ashley Cole and John O'Shea are going to bring to the table.
Well, the obvious comparison in this situation is when Birmingham sacked Gary Rowett and brought in Gianfranco Zola, which infamously went so terribly. And it's been brought up a lot with this situation. People have been saying Birmingham haven't learned from the past, which I think is a completely fair comparison to make. Do you think this will go the same way, Justin?
It's an uncomfortable parallel, isn't it? That's what it is. Because at the time of Rowett's departure, the club were in a similar position where they were looking up. It was a new takeover, wasn't it? That was when BSHL were at the football club. So there's those parallels with new ownership wanting to make their mark. Doesn't quite work out. They hire a former world-class footballer as their head coach, and it just goes tits up. And then Harry Redknapp's probably going to get a call in April 2024 to come and fight the fire potentially. But yeah, I do see the parallels, but I don't think it will go the same way. I'm not anti-Wayne Rooney. It adds so much unnecessary pressure to him, the football club, the owners, to sack a manager who's doing well, to then bring someone in who's got to pick up the baton essentially and run with it, which I don't think is going to be an easy job.
You're a lot more positive on Wayne Rooney now than you were when this rumour initially came about, because initially you were very critical of him, Justin, and essentially said that it was just Liam Rosenior who was basically running the football club, and you seem to have done a bit of a U-turn here.
Yeah, I do think it was Liam Rosenior just running the football club, but I think Ashley Cole has proved himself as a coach with the England under-21s. They play an attractive style of play. and John O'Shea has cut his cloth as well. So there's two half decent coaches going in there. They don't scream attacking football, by the way, because they're both defenders, but that's probably me being a bit naive and ignorant to whatever their coaching qualities might be. They might be very good at deploying a good style of football, but I don't think Wayne Rooney's a good manager. I think he's as good as his number twos. They've got to be good, and if they're not, then he's going to struggle. But as I say, I'm not anti Wayne Rooney, I'm just anti this decision.
Well, going back to my original question, I don't think it will go as badly as Zola did. I think that was just a once-in-a-lifetime event, which I'm not sure we'll ever see anything go as spectacularly bad as that. Having said that, I'm feeling less confident about them getting in the top six now than I was this time on Saturday night. In different circumstances, I wouldn't think it would be too bad. If John Eustace had been poached by Rangers like he was being linked with before and they got in Rooney, I'd been thinking fair enough. But because of the unceremonious sacking, as well as how much the players apparently liked Eustace, that worries me. I mean, think back to some of the unceremonious sackings over the years in the Championship. How many of them have worked? Obviously, Rowett at Birmingham. Darren Moore at West Brom is one which comes to mind, which didn't go too well. Derby sacking Paul Clement, Justin. It's one you'll remember when they were 5 points off the top of the table. There's probably plenty of other examples, but I can't think of many which have gone well. I can't think of too many where a team has been sat in the top six, for example, and gone on to do really well, unless that team was someone who was expected to be, challenging for automatic promotion and then just got with it when they got a new manager, and you get my point. I think it's just a great way to kill your momentum, upset the fans. So it's got to be a bloody good manager when you're doing something like this to justify that decision. And I'm not sure Wayne Rooney is a bloody good manager.
Well, that's it. His record isn't particularly convincing. At DC United, he's failed to get them into the playoffs. His win rate and win percentages do cast some raised eyebrows from some people, but it's a good way of judging how many games they're winning, essentially, although the context isn't there. He's failed to get over 30% in both his tenures so far. Derby, away from home, were absolutely hopeless. I think they won 7 games out of 85 that he was in charge of away from home. That's that I don't know whether that's going to be carrying into his reign. It may or may not. And again, if you're looking to make an ambitious appointment, I wouldn't go to someone who's firstly got a club relegated from the Championship, albeit in difficult circumstances, and failed to really flatter in his previous role. I'm just looking at a few names that I just picked out from a list. Ralph Hasenhüttl, Graham Potter, they're ambitious appointments. John Dale Thomason was an ambitious appointment at Blackburn. Lee Carsley, I think, would be an ambitious appointment given the success at England under 21s. They're ambitious appointments. Wayne Rooney just feels like a big name who's friends with someone who works at the club.
Are you saying they should have got Graham Potter instead? Because that just seemed ridiculously unrealistic.
At least get him on the blower. At least get him on the phone. Give him a text. Do you fancy the job, Graham? No? Okay, we tried.
I will summarise that by saying I think Rooney did do a great job at Derby, but there wasn't enough evidence to suggest he's going to be a great manager based off what we've seen so far. I think we'll wrap this up, Justin, by saying what next for John Eustace? He'll get a new job fairly quickly, you'd have thought, wouldn't he? Because it is rather interesting that 2 potential jobs could be opening up at his former clubs. Obviously, he used to play for Stoke and was a caretaker at QPR, so he may be getting text very soon, you'd have thought.
Dare I speculate even more that Ben Manga looks like he's on his way out of Watford, which is essentially if Pozzo's in that sacking mood, Ishmael could be next despite the new contract. It's another former club that could be on the shortlist, although the chances of that are a lot slimmer than the likes of Alex Neil and Gareth Ainsworth departing Stoke. But he's going to have a lot of suitors queuing up for him because he's shown at Birmingham City how well he can manage in difficult circumstances, manage a transition in the summer with new players, and get the ball rolling for what should have been a successful season under him at Birmingham City this season.
Yeah, but he's a very promising manager with loads of potential, isn't he? We've said that loads of times. He's quite fortunate to be one of the rare managers to get sacked on good terms, so his stock is still high. It doesn't really happen too often, and when that happens, that manager is always going to get linked to jobs. He himself was being linked with the Rangers job literally a matter of weeks ago. So he'll land on his feet, I'm sure of that, and I think a lot of people will be happy to hear that, because I think you'll do well to find anyone who doesn't think an injustice has been sort of delivered here. So I think John Eustace will definitely be back in management soon. Will it be a good decision for all parties? Only time will tell, I think, won't it? But there we go, ladies and gentlemen. This has been the Second Tier Podcast. This has been our reaction to the big news of Monday. John Eustace getting sacked by Birmingham City, 6th in the Championship table. Wayne Rooney apparently on his way to St Andrews. Watch this space. But this has been the Second Tier Podcast. We'll be back again on Thursday with another midweek episode. I've been Ryan Dilks.
I've been Justin Peach.
And a big thank you for listening.